That mic. Shall we start now, ma'am? Good afternoon, madam. Good afternoon to all the participants. The resource person, Mrs. Matushri Anantalakshmi, madam, and all the participants of various College of Education. I welcome you all for this workshop, 7-day workshop, that is from 22nd to 28th, workshop on Indian knowledge system. This is where the Department of Education is organizing this Indian knowledge system. And the other end from the Department of Education, we have Professor Ravindra K. Murthy, sir, Head of the Department, Principal of Department of Education, University College of Education, Osmania University. And then our colleagues, Dr. J. Lalita, Assistant Professor, Department of Education, B. Sujata, Dr. B. Sujata, Madam, Department of Education, Osmania University. Dr. G. Durgesham, Assistant Professor, Department of Education, Osmania University. Krishnaya Garu and Dharmateja, there are Dr. Krishnaya and Dr. Dharmateja, Assistant Professors, Department of Education. On the other hand, we have our patron, Vice Chancellor, Professor M. Kumar, sir, and Registrar, sir, the Professor Naresh Reddy Garu. And then we have our Officer on Special Duty to Vice Chancellor, Dr. Professor Jitendra Naik, sir. These are the people from representing the University of College. They are patrons of this workshop. So now we will have formal inauguration, followed by our head of the department and principal, sir, who will be the president of this today's session. Now we'll hand over to Anantalakshmi, madam, of Anaadi Foundation, with whom we are collaborating. Ma'am, it's over to you, ma'am.
Namaste, everyone. Very happy to be collaborating with Osmania University and the associated colleges and universities on this IKS program workshop. Before we go on with the proceedings, we will begin with an invocation. The invocation is offered by Tejasvi, who is a Vidyarthi of Dharma Gurukulam, which we run at Anaadi Foundation. So let us begin with an invocation.
Shri Gananatham Bhajare Chita Parashakti Yutam Shri Gananatham Bhajare Chita Parashakti Yutam Nagayagnya Sutradharam Nadalayanandakaram Nagayagnya Sutradharam Nadalayanandakaram Agamadi Sannutam Akhila Deva Pujitam Yogashali Bhavitam भोगिशायि सेवितं रागद्वेषादिरहितरमणीय हृदय विदितं श्रीगुरुगुहसम्मुदितं चिन्मूलकमलस्थितं रागद्वेषादिरहितरमणीय हृदय विदितं श्रीगुरुगुहसम्मुदितं चिन्मूलकमलस्थितं श्रीगणनाथं भज रे चेतपरा शक्तियुतं श्रीगणनाथं भज रे.
Thank you. Over to ma'am for the.
Yeah, now I request Head of the Department Principal, Professor Ravindra K. Murthy, sir, who is the presiding officer of today's session. I request sir to give us few words about this IKS.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody, and namaskars to everybody. I'm very happy that the Department of Education, University College of Education, Osmania University is organizing this 7-day online workshop on Indian knowledge systems in collaboration with Anaadi Foundation. So I welcome all the dignitaries, the teachers, the research scholars, the faculty members, and other members who are attending this program. I welcome you all to this workshop, online workshop. And at the outset, I am also profusely thankful to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Kumar Sir, and our Registrar of Osmania University, Professor G. Naresh Reddy Garu, and then OSD to Vice Chancellor, Professor Jitendra Nayak Garu. So I'm profusely thankful to all the eminent dignitaries and other teachers and staff who are participating in this program. At the outset, I'm also, equally thankful to the Anaadi Foundation, who are very, who are sharing their resources and valuable inputs from their side. So without them, maybe this program may not have been possible. So as you already know, the Department of Education, University College of Education offers B.Ed and M.Ed courses. So as a part of this course, we have introduced from academic year 23-24 onwards, we have revised the syllabus. And as a part of the revision, we have introduced Indian knowledge systems as a theory paper and also as a practicum paper. And now it was necessary for us to orient and train our teachers, faculty members, and all the other, also the students, and particularly the teachers who are the teacher educators who are teaching our B.Ed students and M.Ed students. So a kind of sensitization and orientation was thought of to, give them valuable inputs about the Indian knowledge systems. Of course, the importance of Indian knowledge systems is already there because as per national education policy, also it is recommended that every course should have components on Indian knowledge system and its relevance to the teacher education. So we have already introduced this as a theory paper and also as a practicum paper in our B.Ed course. So it is now time for us to orient our teachers and students on this Indian knowledge system. So as a part of this workshop is being organized. So I request all the teacher educators and students and all the participants who are attending this program. So please give your valuable time. Please dedicate this time for you for this workshop because we have, as a part of this workshop, we have eminent speakers who will be giving us knowledge. And then if we listen to them very carefully, we will definitely benefit from their expertise. And then again, we will learn all these concepts. And then in turn, we will be able to teach our students very effectively. As this is a new concept for some of us, and that teacher educators should definitely benefit from this workshop. And this is the main focus of our objective of this program, that we should give training to our teacher educators who are particularly dealing with this paper in B.Ed and M.Ed courses, and they should benefit from this workshop. And in turn, they should be very effective in delivering the course contents for the students of B.Ed and M.Ed program. So with this, I thank all the faculty members, particularly Dr. Sunita Madam, who was very keen, who has taken this initiative of organizing this program. And I also thank the eminent resource persons from Anaadi Foundation who have shown interest in organizing this workshop. So thank you one and all. Now I also thank all the state universities, because along with this, along with the faculty members of Osmania University, we also have faculty members and students attending and listening to this workshop from different state universities. All the state universities of B.Ed courses have this component of Indian knowledge system in their syllabus. So they are also going to benefit. It is not only the faculty members of Osmania University, but also all the faculty members of the B.Ed and M.Ed colleges situated in Telangana. They are also listening and they are also participants in this program. So I once again thank all of them for this initiative. And then we should definitely make this very useful and fruitful. And we should sincerely participate in this program so that we'll reach the fruits of this program. Because our resource persons from Anaadi Foundation, they are sharing their valuable time and resources from their side. And then we should definitely get the benefit of this workshop. So with this, I once again thank our Dr. Sunita Madam, who is the Chairperson Board of Studies in Education in Osmania University. She has taken the lead and she has taken the initiative of organizing this workshop and helping all the faculty members across Telangana to get the benefit of this Indian knowledge system. Thank you one and all. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Before asking the resource person to start her lecture, I would request all the faculty members of various College of Education to kindly listen carefully to whatever the resource persons are giving inputs to us. And then also, one point here I want to mention is this, whatever the themes we have prepared for the this workshop is taken from our M.Ed and B.Ed curriculum, and we have made a common themes, and then we have requested the resource persons from Anaadi Foundation and other resource persons to kindly give inputs on these themes which we have included in our paper for both B.Ed and M.Ed. And for because of this, any information, extra information you want, please immediately you give your queries in the chat box, or when the madam resource person give you permission for interaction, that time you can ask your doubts and clear it. Because as it is a new papers we have introduced in the curriculum, as Principal Sir and Head of the Department Ravindranath Murthy Sir has told us. So please kindly, keenly listen to the lectures, whatever the resource persons are giving, and whatever doubts you have, kindly ask them and you rectify them and overcome the doubts. Thank you very much, ma'am. And now we have today's session, we have on Introduction to Indian Knowledge System by Matushri Anantalakshmi Garu from Anaadi Foundation. And madam, I just want to give brief introduction about the foundation and the resource person. Shriman Adinarayanan and Matushri Srimati Adinarayan are the founding gurus of Anaadi Foundation, a spiritual organization that was founded in 2015. Shriman Adinarayana is a Siddhi yogi who spent more than 215 days in Mauna Tapasya, and the Dapati belongs to spiritual parampara of Mahavatara Kriya Babaji. After a deep spiritual experiences during his graduate studies in US, Siddhi Yogi Shriman Adinarayanan has had a strong desire to return to India to dedicate himself to spirituality and serving the society. Since their marriage in 2004, Adi Narayanan and Smriti has been leading a yogic life of simplicity and purpose. After spending some time in the software industry and with the intention of living life that can be of benefit to a large number of people, especially the youth, they moved to academics. Their sadhana and Adi Narayanan's Mauna Tapasya inspired them to make the essence of the spiritual parampara of the country available to everyone. They continued to teach at various institutions, including IIT Delhi, association with Ministry of Education for Development of Indian Knowledge System based curriculum and other projects. After more than a decade of teaching and research experiences, the Dampati started Anaadi Foundation for Loka Sangraha, and since then they have been reaching out children, youth, and families through their online and in-person programs on yoga, Itihasa Purana, and Vedanta, blending unique insights from the modern science. Being grihasthas and being able to integrate sadhana into their daily life has inspired a lot of grihasthas who visit the ashram. And this is what is a brief introduction about Anaadi Foundation, how it started by Adi Narayanan and Smriti Madam. So I think with this brief introduction, I request Madam to start her lecture on Introduction to Indian Knowledge System. And here, Madam, these foundation and these resource person are integrating in IKS into the pedagogical practices. So they are doing a lot of work on that. I think this will be a useful workshop for all the faculty members of teacher education who are attending this workshop, ma'am. Thank you very much. With this, I hand over to Madam. Thank you, ma'am.
Namaste, everyone. Very happy to be here as part of this workshop on Indian knowledge systems. I begin this session with my gratitude towards Osmania University, towards Dr. Sunita and Dr. Kishore for making these sessions possible. I know it's a very packed schedule for the teacher educators as well as the B.Ed and M.Ed students. And taking time off is often a challenge for all teachers and students. I myself have worked in a university for more than 10 years. And I know the challenges of being a faculty member and also being a student. So gratitude to all of you for being part of this session, whoever is attending on Zoom and whoever is watching on the YouTube live. And the idea behind these sessions is one, of course, is to bring out the various dimensions of Indian knowledge systems, taking from the ancient times to how it is relevant in the present and how it will be useful in the future as well. And this entire workshop has been designed in alignment with the syllabus that you have as part of your own curriculum. So we will be a little bit of tweaking has happened. It is not verbatim as per your syllabus, but a little bit of whatever is needed also has been added as part of these sessions. And as it was generously read out in the introduction section, we started Anaadi Foundation in 2015. And we've also written a lot of books on Indian knowledge system for young learners at the school level, also at at the parent level. This is on Ayurveda, astronomy, Bharatiya Ganita, the general Indian knowledge systems, the philosophical concepts, and the various scientific concepts. And at the moment, more than 15 to 20,000 students across India are using this as part of their, daily learning. We also signed a lot of MOUs with higher education institutions offering courses on Indian knowledge systems, and very, very happy to be part of this workshop for teacher educators and B.Ed and M.Ed students. I'll go to my presentation right now. So in today's session, what we will be doing is looking at what Indian knowledge system is and providing a general overview of it. What is the purpose behind learning Indian knowledge systems in general? And what is the purpose behind learning IKS, especially being in the College of Education? And what is the context and how is it relevant? Okay. And we will also be looking at some books that are useful for you to learn more about the Indian education system, right? So when we talk about Indian knowledge systems, the Indian word that is used also is Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. We also have an IKS division at the Ministry of Education. Thanks to all the efforts that have been taken by the government in the recent past, we now have a separate division called Indian Knowledge System Division, which is into research, granting of funds, enabling creation of courses, signing of MOUs, and many such activities, especially at the higher education and the research level, to spread the gift of Bharat to the world. So Indian knowledge system refers to the diverse and vast ancient body of knowledge, the rich body of knowledge that has been developed, preserved, and transmitted in India, and of course, it has traveled throughout the world as well. An Indian knowledge system encompasses a wide range of disciplines, including philosophy, science, mathematics, medicine, architecture, agriculture, arts, linguistics, and spirituality. Whenever people all over the world talk about India, many assume that India is good or was good only for its spiritual processes, right? Many people associate India with, say, philosophy or yoga or Vedanta. But then you would be very, very surprised. We have one whole section on ancient Indian science and technology, which we would see the contribution of Indians. You would see that philosophy, not just yoga, but there has been a huge body of scientific, mathematical, and well-being literature, architecture, and many such things. And the marvels that we see around us, right? When you go right from, Kashmir to Kanyakumari to Gujarat to the Northeast, we have so many monuments, so many places which stand testimony to the richness and vastness of Indian knowledge systems. It could be, a pillar which is made up of iron that doesn't rust for, thousands of years, or it could refer to a temple tower, which is not leaning, by the way. It is standing straight, right? Or it could be the wonderful weaving of the northeastern states like Assam, Manipur, Tripura, right? Or the wonderful sciences that emerged from the western part of India. So you would see that India has contributed not just to philosophical systems, but also to a huge body of scientific literature as well. In these sessions, we would not be going too much into the historical aspects. Of course, we would be talking a little bit about it. But the idea is to present to you what was existing in the past and how is it relevant in today's context, and how can we apply it to solve problems of the future, especially keeping in mind that all of you belong to the College of Education. And these systems are deeply rooted in India's culture and spiritual traditions, reflecting a holistic approach to understanding the world and the human experience. Okay. Again, what is IKS? We have various domains, as I told you, philosophy and spirituality in terms of Vedanta, Sankhya, the various philosophical systems and Darshana Shastras. They provide insights into the human mind, consciousness, and also provide a path to self-realization. Then you have the science and mathematics. Contributed to mathematics and science are very, very well known. We have had Aryabhatta, we have had Bhaskaracharya, Charaka, Sushruta, Vagbhatta, Panini. All these have contributed to a vast number of scientific achievements. For example, when we talk about ancient Indian contribution to mathematics, many say that, it is the Indians invented the zero, or Aryabhatta invented the zero. It is not just to do with the zero. The entire number system that we use today in terms of 1, 2, 3, now many people call it Arabic numerals. But it is in fact the numeral system or the numeric system that originated in India, then traveled to the Middle East, and then traveled to Europe. There are a lot of historical records, there are a lot of books that have been written about how these scientific knowledge systems traveled from India to various countries abroad. And of course, they've had their own contributions as well added on top of it. And that is how there is a proliferation of modern science that we see today, right? So it is not just the zero, because in those times, in very, very ancient times, if you compare, the Romans had the Roman number system. So imagine you write, for example, the number 35, right? So you will write X, 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 and V. And suppose you want to write the number 45, you write X, 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 and V. And suppose you have to add these two numbers. So imagine how would you add those two Roman letters, right? Without the concept of zero, without the current decimal system, without the current numerical system. When I ask you the question 35 plus 45, what is the answer? Immediately the answer comes to your mind. It is 80. So you just added 5 and 5, you just carried over, and then all this you did it in your mind. But then when I give you the Roman letters, it's very complex to add. Practically, it's not possible to add it that way, or you take ages to do that, right? So this idea that we need to have such a decimal system, or the idea of the decimal system having originated in India, traveled to the world, and it has made phenomenal transformation to the way we manipulate numbers, play with numbers, and also compute in the real world. Not just mathematics, not just astronomy, the entire sciences, the well-being sciences, excuse me, the spelling of well is incorrect here. But nevertheless, the well-being sciences, whether it is Ayurveda, Siddha, they all offer very, very comprehensive health and awareness, health and wellness approaches. And these systems emphasize the balance of the body, the mind, the spirit, using natural remedies, diet, lifestyle practices, and also promote well-being to a very large extent, right? And we would be seeing a little bit about these well-being sciences as well. Linguistics and literature. We've had Sanskrit and the various classical languages as part of the treasure trove of literature, including the Vedas, the Upanishads, the epics like the Ramayana and Mahabharata, and countless of texts, including the grammar, the study of phonetics and poetics. We would actually be going a little bit into what are the various aspects of linguistics in terms of the Vedanga. Okay. And we have art and aesthetics as well. Every state has its own dance form. Every state has its own weaving pattern. If you go to Andhra and Telangana, there is a particular weaving pattern. When you come to Tamil Nadu, where I live, there is a particular way in which the dresses are woven. And there is a unique design template that is available in each region of the country, right? For example, I live in Tamil Nadu. In 100 to 150 kilometers, the weaving pattern changes, the language patterns changes, the cuisine changes, the food that we eat changes within 100 to 150 kilometers. The words that we use also changes. So such is the diversity of the knowledge system. Ethics and governance. You would see that great texts like Arthashastra and Manusmriti, and you have had the Dharma Shastras, which provide insights on governance, law, ethics, and the various social orders in ancient India. They also have a lot of modern relevance. So many books have been written about Bhagavad Gita in modern management, Arthashastra in politics and ethics. Like that, every year, new books are coming out in terms of interpreting these texts in the modern context and helping us to solve modern day problems. So when we talk about IKS, it is not just a thing of the past, something that is when we say that I'm going to learn IKS or I'm going to know about IKS or for example, we want to teach the next generation about IKS, it does not mean that we are going to go back to the past, or it's not that we are going to actually send the young people to some historical past and just freeze there. When we say we are going to delve into IKS, it means that we are going to use the knowledge of the past to solve the problems of the future. So wherever there are gaps in the current solutions, for example, there is an ecological crisis that is going on, right? So you see here that throughout the planet, where they say that we have crossed many planetary boundaries. People are talking about 2030 being the year for the sustainable development goals. There is not much agreement, or there is not much progress along certain dimensions. We continue to use nature for our own benefit. The natural resources tend to deplete. Only now people are realizing that there is a limit to growth, right? Otherwise, people were assuming that there are infinite resources on the planet. So even if you look at the ecological crisis, or there could be an economic issues throughout the world, you see that some countries are entering into recession. Some countries are doing pretty well. Or it could be a health crisis when the corona came. Like, the first phase of corona, nobody knew what to do until there were medicines, until there was a treatment protocol in place, until there were vaccinations. There was no clue as to how to handle that situation. So when we talk about Indian knowledge systems, we are talking about the scientific domain or knowledge systems that will be helpful to solve the problems of the future. Wherever there is a gap, suppose a particular way of living can be improved, we can look at Indian knowledge systems and then improve the way we live. Suppose there is a gap in the modern pedagogical tools. Suppose we feel that young learners, school children, are not able to learn effectively. They are afraid of mathematics. They are afraid of the sciences. Then we can draw insights from Indian pedagogical tools and offer it to young children today to enhance their learning experience. So when we talk about IKS, we are not talking about something which is frozen in the past, but we are actually looking at how to make use of it for the future generations and also to enhance our life. The next graph that I'm showing here is a very important graph. It is called the Angus-Madison report, right? And sorry. This is called the Angus-Madison report. Here, if you see on the screen, the graph shown, this is an orange color. This is a red color. The orange color represents India and the red color represents China. So at some point in time in history, if you look at it in the 1500 and all that, India used to contribute to about 30 to 35% of the world's GDP, right? So what is GDP? GDP means it is gross domestic product. All of you must be knowing GDP. It represents the overall output of a country. It represents the overall productivity of the country, right? Even now, we measure India's progress, the various countries' progress by the GDP, right? Gross domestic product. How much wealth are we producing? What is the per capita income? What is the income of a per head income in the country? All this is being looked at. So here, if you see, in the overall contribution of the world, India and China used to lead in their contribution. But then you see here, there has been a very, very steady decline in the contribution to the world's GDP, especially when the impact of colonization started to increase. There has been a very, very steady decline in the contribution of India to the world's GDP. So again, this is another graph that is being shown. So here, if you see this particular orange brownish band is India's contribution. At some point in time, it used to be very, very high, right? And then overall, it started to decline after a while. This is the year that is being shown here. So the Angus-Madison report is a comprehensive study of the world economic history and highlights India's significant role in the global economy. At some point in time, India used to contribute to more than 25 to 30% of the world's GDP. And the report emphasizes that India's economic strength was driven by its advanced agricultural practices, thriving trade networks, sophisticated manufacturing processes, especially in textile and metallurgy. There was a global demand for our textile products and metallurgical products such as gold ornaments and many such things. And India's prosperity was also supported by its rich intellectual tradition. It means that there were institutionalized educational ecosystems which were offering, education in a very, very robust manner. If your country's GDP has to be high, it means the trade output is also high. It means the manufacturing is very good. If manufacturing has to be very good, it also means there are robust processes and there were a lot of people who were skilled, who knew how to manufacture. So it means that the kind of education that was offered was a mix of vocational education, which is skill-based education, plus knowledge system-oriented education, plus home-based education. However, because of the British colonization, India's share in the global GDP had drastically reduced, marking a very significant shift in the country's economic trajectory. Thus, the Angus-Madison report provides a very critical perspective on the rise and fall of India's economic power over the 2 millennia, right? So this is what we see according to the Angus-Madison report. The next one, next we are talking about The Beautiful Tree by Professor Dharampal. So first we saw a report that showed the contribution to world's GDP in terms of the overall contribution, right? So that gives us a picture of how prosperous we were at some point in time, okay? But now we are going to look at what was the kind of education system that was prevailing in the ancient times. Since all of you are faculty and students of College of Education, this becomes a very important report. I would strongly recommend all of you to read the book, The Beautiful Tree, The Beautiful Tree by Professor Dharampal. Okay. I've put it in the chat box. Read the book, The Beautiful Tree by Professor Dharampal. It is downloadable as a PDF. You can read it. There are other books by Professor Dharampal. You can purchase a copy of those books. It's very good to have it in your library as well or in your departments. So Beautiful Tree is a book written by Professor Dharampal by accessing archives in British libraries. In the 1960s, what he did was he went to the British archives and looked at what the Britishers had written about the Indian education system. Professor Dharampal in his book meticulously analyzes the archival records, reports, and correspondence of British officials to present a very vivid picture of what was the education system prevalent at that particular point in time. And where did he choose this title? He chose his title from what Mahatma Gandhi ji had spoken in 1931. Mahatma Gandhi ji had said in his talk that the British administrators, when they came to India, instead of taking hold of things as they were, began to root them out. They scratched the soil and began to look at the root and left the root like that, and the beautiful tree perished. So he's written that the beautiful tree perished. And Professor Dharampal took that beautiful tree phrase and examined the educational system that had perished because of the various colonization. Now, one might ask, what is the use of knowing all this at this time? When this has happened in the past, something that happened in the past, should we now dig it up and then say that, oh, this happened, this is not good, that is not good, and all that? The idea is not to dig up something that is irrelevant, right? If we have to know about the present, what is the problem that we are facing today and how to solve today's problems, we need some insights from the past, right? So we are only picking relevant insights which will help us to understand our current situation better and then move forward from there, right? So even if it's our own life, right? When we have problems in our own life, what do? We reflect on the past, right? We reflect on the past and see, okay, how did this whole thing happen? That's a very healthy way to do it. That's a very objective way to do it. What went wrong in the past that I am in this situation? And what can I do now in order to rectify this situation? So that is how we are approaching all of this material. Okay. And it is important to emphasize that indigenous education was carried out through various means: patashalas, community supported institutions, homes, trees, and gurukulas. Before we move into this, I have a few questions which I will ask some of the faculty members to offer their insights. So when we talk about ancient Indian education system, what comes to your mind? If some of you can share.
Yes, participants, you can interact.
Yeah, please feel free to interact.
Yeah.
You're going to be with me for the next 6 to 7 days. So this interaction will be helpful. When you think about ancient education system, what all comes to your mind? Maybe Kishore sir can share 1 or 2 points, and then we'll take it from the others as well.
It's actually a Gurukula system of education.
Gurukula
System of education where the learner is away from all distractions so that they can concentrate on the
knowledge.
Yeah, which is being imparted by the gurus. And then it was indigenous system of education.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. And somebody is told here, true education, knowledge was focused on. Ancient education system was practiced in nature. Ethical education was given. Wonderful. Thank you so much. As you would see that one, of course, when we talk about the ancient education system, often there is a picture of a tree, which is like a banyan tree, right? And there is one ashram there. There is a banyan tree there. There is a rishi like person sitting there. There are few students sitting around the rishi, and then the Vedas are being taught in that particular Gurukula. This is the picture that comes to our mind when we talk about ancient education system. But then you will see that ancient education system was not confined to a banyan tree or a ashram or a gurukulam, but there were different kinds of educational setups that were available. So there were patashalas, like a day school that was there. There were gurukulas, which were there in the ashramas of rishis, where students had to go and stay and learn from there. There were also community supported institutions. Suppose they would identify one place, the local peasants, everybody, poor people, rich people, whatever it's possible to them, they will contribute to the upkeep of that particular community space and then offer that education. Education was also offered in homes as well. I mean, when I say trees, it doesn't mean on the trees, it means beneath the trees. So even in the trees, in the gardens, in the central vista of the village, everywhere there was education that was offered. So when we talk about ancient education system, it was not just confined to residential gurukulas, but there were so many non-residential learning spaces that were available. And these education systems were kept alive by the revenue contributions by the community, including simple peasants. Whatever was available to them, they used to contribute. And Professor Dharampal, in his book called The Beautiful Tree, has written that from the various education surveys, he was able to observe that there exist more than 1 lakh villages in Bengal and Bihar province alone. I mean, more than 1 lakh village schools that were there in the Bengal and Bihar province alone in the 1830s. So it means that there was a proliferation of educational ecosystems throughout the country, and everybody was part of the educational process. So often when we talk about Indian education system, many people think that it was not allowed for this, it was not allowed for X, it was not allowed for Y, and they couldn't access education and all that. But if you read the beautiful tree, you will clearly understand that it was a very, very inclusive kind of an education, which had a huge number of enrollments. The content was, very, very robust when compared to what the British education was at that point in time. The pedagogy was superior. The more number of schools were there, covered all the classes and communities, not, unless they chose not to go to the school, they were free to go to, it was offered all communities, classes and genders were part of the education system. And more than 1,000 higher educational centers were there at a very, very early time in India. So that was how beautiful that education system was, right? The school functioned for a fairly long hours, 6 a.m. onwards, followed by 1 or 2 short intervals, finishing at about sunset or even later. Panchatantra was offered, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, and people learned the entire dictionaries and grammar texts. Nighantas were taught there. And Shabda Manjari, the spelling is different because we have used the spellings that the British archives had. And higher learning was offered in astronomy, medical sciences, theology, metaphysics, ethics, and all that. Lexicology, Vedanta, Mimamsa, all the philosophical systems were also taught. That's why we see that whether it is Takshashila or Nalanda or many other higher education institutions, hundreds of students used to travel from many countries outside India in order to access the education that was there. So even now, if we need to see a larger inflow of students from many countries, it means that if we start offering our own specializations in IKS, which is very unique to our country in terms of yoga, Ayurveda, mathematics, astronomy, whatever it is, when we start offering that, you will see that in the future, a huge number of foreign students will also be interested to come to India and learn this, right? But of course, colonization, as I told you, this is not to develop some kind of a bitterness towards, what happened in the past, right? But this is basically to develop an understanding, right? Focus on elite education, accrediting only those institutions that had infrastructure. In some of the, records, unfortunately, it is written that they are preparing servants for the European offices. Then there was also a focus on having control over the universities and the full system of control over education system by standardizing the content, the pedagogy, outcomes, and evaluation. And vocational and technical education was largely neglected, which led to the decline of various industrial processes, like, for example, weaving, pottery, the textile industry, many things collapsed there, even metallurgical works. When there is no focus on vocational skill, there is only focus on developing, the education process to suit, which was to suit that is something there abroad, or in order to manage the country effectively. Only that kind of education was supported, and modeling Indian universities on those in London. So the nature of the Indian education system itself started to change, right? And what happened was that education was offered in India, if you see, largely in the ancient times, food, education, and healthcare were supposed to be offered free of cost. But then what happened was that when the colonization happened, they said that the institutions only with a certain infrastructure will be supported, right? So if you need infrastructure, you need money. When you need money, you'll have to go and take it from the students. So at that time, a lot of inequality started to creep in the educational process. And of course, only institutions that had a particular infrastructure could actually be, sort of accredited as a valid educational institution. And because of that, many educational institutions that were running in community halls, were running in simple Thinnai Pallikudams, which are basically running in the portico or porch of the house, all these started to decline. So why do we need to know IKS, right? Let me also ask this question to the audience. Why should we learn about IKS? If you can give me some answers, we'll proceed from there. So far, all of you have been giving very good insights in the chat box. So why do we need to learn IKS?
Yeah, please, you can unmute. Those who want to interact, kindly unmute and speak, please. Just request to all the participants to kindly interact.
Very good evening, madam.
Yeah, Dr. Shekhar Garu, continue, please.
Yes. So, Indian knowledge system is promoting indigenous education system. So, it is relevant to all kinds of dimensions here. So mathematics, to physics, to biological science, to philosophy, social sciences. So, what are the innovations? What are the discoveries are there that we are reflecting now present situation? That's why you have to learn from the what the past is happening, what the present is happening, what is the correlation between past aspects and present aspects. We are reflecting that aspects of knowledge system. So due to we want to learn about Indian knowledge system. Thank you, madam.
To understand the Indian cultural heritage, madam, and also holistic development.
Yes, sir.
And moreover, addressing the contemporary challenges like mental health, agriculture, and something sustainable practices, something problems what we face in means contemporary issues,
Correct.
climate changes, environmental degradation, mental health issues, like so that we need to learn IKS.
Yes, sir. Very valid, sir. Very valid. Especially as you pointed out, in the dimensions of mental health and agriculture, there are so much scope that we can draw from Indian knowledge systems.
Yes.
Anybody else wants to share?
To understand the hidden ancient knowledge in different criterias, ma'am.
Very good. Different areas, what we have contributed. Very good.
It is maybe art, it's maybe literature, it may be science. Not only one, it could be related in all disciplinaries, I thought.
Correct. Correct. So proceeding on, before I go into that slide, I also have one more question to ask. What are some of the issues with the current educational process? Like all of you, once you complete your B.Ed and M.Ed or teacher educators that are there, probably your intended audience is school students, right? So what are some of the challenges that we see in the school level? Leave out the curriculum and all that. That is all, set by someone and then the students study. But overall, what are some of the challenges at the school level?
Yes, madam. Qualitative education is missing, madam.
Quality of the
Value-based and moral education is missing a lot.
Value-based and moral education is missing. Very true, ma'am.
So, as a person who is into psychology, I feel the mental health aspects, especially how to deal with, the frustration, stress, and stuff like that, and how to create resilience and deal with adversity. These components have to be included. And like you have said already, the psychological aspects which are there in Ayurveda, if you can integrate, if you can somehow create a pattern to integrate them, I think that would be of a great help.
Fantastic, fantastic, ma'am. Very, very true. As a person who has you have gone through psychology, you pretty well know what the challenges the students face and how important it is to integrate IKS, especially insights from yoga and art. Very good. Anybody
Lack
else?
of facilities, lack of infrastructure.
Yes, lack of infrastructure. Very true. There are so many children who are outside the education process because there are not enough facilities to reach to them.
Also, ma'am, lack of focus on holistic development.
Yes.
At present, education system often prioritizes academic achievement only. So, lack of focus on holistic development is the major challenge of our education system. This can lead to neglect of important aspects like means physical health, mental well-being, and social emotional learning. We are all this neglecting. Just we are focusing on academic achievement only.
Very true, sir. Very true.
Life skills are missing, ma'am.
Life skills are missing. Very true. And in fact, what
We are not shaping lifestyle of the individual. We are focused on academic achievement only, and we are going for only skill-based education. But there is a technical lag, means lack of technical provisions, infrastructure facilities. So many problems are there.
Very true, sir.
I think most important thing is the lack of attitude, madam. We are not passing a positive and right way of thinking among the people through this present education system.
Very true.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
I feel is if we can give counseling in every year, at least one or two sessions to the students to motivate them, that might be very helpful because this is what, as everybody is telling, attitude problem we have with the students. Depression is becoming very common. Students get depressed. They don't put any hard work, but they get depressed when they see their marks and all.
Ma'am, for that need to involve parental involvement is the main
Yes.
important. Yes.
True.
Otherwise, we can't
correct.
achieve. Yeah.
In fact, the
Without
College of
parental involvement, we
Education,
can't do anything.
the College of Education, I think, should also work with the parental community because it is not just the teacher community, but also the parents who also have a part in the whole, are important stakeholders here.
Yes.
And as all of you are rightly pointing out, one of the you could say problem or whatever it is, I myself am a product of the mainstream education system. So the thing is that the super focus on marks, right? At the end of every year, you are told that you are good to this extent, and then you are given a mark sheet saying you have scored English, math, and all that. But then nobody talks about what other, say for example, if you have been an emotionally stable person, like somebody was talking about, if you have been a happy student, if you have been a very persevering student, if you have been a hardworking student, or if you're a student who has maintained very good physical health, has been good in physical education, all this, there is no way to actually tell the student at the end of the term that you have been good in all of this, right? So most of the time, it is only the marks that the student gets at the end of it. And in fact, they don't even get the marks. They get a pass letter saying you have passed, you've just gone to the next year. So the hyper focus on the cognitive content. So they would say that, okay, you study. So parents or the teachers or the education system would say that you study fully, everything else we will take care for you, right? Even if it is taking care of your dress, even if it's taking care of your school bag, even if it's taking care of your notebooks or whatever it is, the parent or the system says that we will take care of everything for you. You just go and study that particular chapter and score good marks. So when we keep reinforcing this particular aspect, how will the child even know that we value other things other than grades, right? So whatever we reinforce as a society on the child is what the child is going to deliver at the end of the day, right? So there are so many things that we can talk about, issues and problems. Of course, we will have more sessions on this, but in many of these situations, Indian knowledge systems can actually help in a very, very significant manner. So why IKS? We can develop a holistic understanding of knowledge, right? integrating various disciplines such as philosophy, science, arts, spirituality. All this is interconnected. So one of the beautiful things about IKS is that it presents everything as an interconnected knowledge, right? For example, if in today's context, if we take the sciences, right? If we have to live healthy by reading our, say, textbook science, say, for example, right from 6th standard onwards, we have sciences in our syllabus. If we have to live healthy just by studying the science textbook, it's not going to be possible, right? It talks about the heart, it talks about the liver, it talks about kidney and all that. But then how do you actually keep the organs healthy? How do you maintain your body in a healthy manner? What do you need to have to do? What is a preventive health mechanism? What is a good food to eat? What is the best kind of a nutrition to have? All these inputs are not part of the curriculum, unfortunately. But when we take Indian knowledge systems, for example, you could take Ayurveda or yoga, the foundations are set in such a way that it talks about preventive health. How do you take care so that you don't contract diseases? What is the right way to eat? What is the when can you wake up in the morning? How do you even have a bath? How do you clean your entire body? All this is part of Ayurvedic education. So the student is handheld into the various stages of life, such that at a Bala Avastha, what the child needs to know, at the Kumar Avastha, what the child needs to know, at being a Yuva, being a Grihastha, whatever they need to know, all these texts actually systematically, there is a lot of hand holding that is available right from daily routine to the food that we eat to treating the diseases, right? So in terms of well-being and wellness, there is a huge contribution of Indian sciences that is available. The other aspect is that it builds a lot of cultural identity and heritage. So learning IKS allows individual to connect with India's rich cultural heritage, fostering a sense of pride and identity. It provides insights into ancient wisdom and practices that have shaped the Indian society, helping to preserve and promote these traditions in a rapidly globalizing world. And many innovative solutions are also available. IKS provides valuable knowledge and practice that are relevant to contemporary challenges such as sustainable living, wellness, and ethical governance. There are so many studies that talk about the harmful effects of chemicals that are used in the food that we eat, whether it is processed food or whether it is vegetable food that we eat or whether it is animal food that we eat. There are so many things that are spoken about or published in terms of the harmful effects. So, but when we take to various ways of farming in terms of natural agriculture, organic agriculture, or many people talk about there are different methods of that kind of or sustainable agriculture, then what happens is that the chances of falling sick because of these chemicals drastically reduces. Of course, it comes with its own challenges. There are a lot of debates around it. We are not going to go into that. But there are a lot of traditional practices, like even seed conservation. If you go throughout the country, there are so many farmers who conserve seeds that have been there for thousands of years, the original seeds, one generation after the other. And then those seeds can be used to cultivate crops that were present in ancient India. So like this, the knowledge system is very vast, rich, and huge. So for example, I often talk about this, right? You have the masala dabba in the kitchen, okay? Where you have jeera, you have mustard, you have methi, you have some haldi or turmeric and all that in the masala dabba. So this masala dabba, people often think it is to give good taste, right? So it is not just for good taste. In fact, if you have to be healthy, that masala dabba is needed. So, for example, the turmeric helps in digestion and also good for inflammation and also immunity building. Jeera helps in digestion. Mustard heats up the body. Methi or fenugreek cools down the body. Like that, each one has its own property when you look at it from an Ayurvedic framework, right? But then if you have to tell young children what is the right way to eat, you need these as frameworks and knowledge systems. That is why you have knowledge system, focus. So one thing is, of course, going and doing it as a practice, but then you need a framework in order to explain it better to young learners, to students, to researchers, to faculty, and all those people, right? So that is why you need it as a knowledge system. You need to decode it as a knowledge system, right? And if some of you, one or two people can share why is IKS needed in a college of education context, we can take the discussion from there. Why do you need it for teacher educators, or why do you need it for B.Ed, M.Ed students?
If a teacher educator should know about the information about the IKS, he should be impart the information regarding his IKS in the schools. So teacher educators is the first teachers to teachers. So that's why they have to know about the information about IKS.
Very good, ma'am. Anybody else wants to share?
So we have said, no, we always start saying that Sadasiva Samarambham, Vyasa Sankara Madhyamam, Asmadacharya Paryantam, Vande Guru Paramparam. It is a legacy, and we have to continue that legacy. Yes, we, the teacher educators should know about that.
Wonderful, ma'am. Wonderful. Anybody else wants to share? Why is it required in College of Education? Somebody, any of you might be wondering, why am I made to go through this workshop for 7 days?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So these students and teacher educators are the best human resources who are going to pass these information regarding the children, among the children, the next generations.
Very true. Very true. So why IKS in College of Education? So ancient Indian education emphasized experiential learning and value-based education, and also self-realization. So for B.Ed and M.Ed teacher educators and students, learning about IKS equipped them to incorporate these timeless practices such as storytelling, Gurukula traditions, self-reflective exercises into modern day classroom. This fusion prepares educator to nurture a holistic development in learners. Also, IKS provides frameworks for addressing contemporary issues like mental health, environment and sustainability, ethical dilemmas. By learning about systems as yoga, Ayurveda, ecological traditions, educators can find practical solutions and foster resilience and well-being in their students. So by knowing these frameworks, we in turn are able to impact the students that we are ultimately going to teach, right? And another important thing is that globally, there is an awakening towards indigenous and ancient education models and pedagogy, because they help to transform the classroom as they are value-based, nature-based. There are multiple custodians of knowledge, and there are a variety of pedagogical approaches. I'll tell you what these are. Last year, we actually at Anaadi Foundation Center for Indigenous Knowledge Systems, Anaadi CIKS as we call it, we hosted a one-day seminar where we brought online speakers from New Zealand, from Australia, from Peru, which is in South America, speakers from North America, from Colombia, right? And also from Kenya. And each of these speakers are closely working on the indigenous education or traditional education of that particular country. So there were also speakers who were running schools like Gurukulas in those various countries like Peru, Colombia, and all that. And at the end of the seminar, all of us were able to understand that there are so many commonalities between the various or amongst the various ancient education systems. One thing, of course, all of these education systems, be it the Maori education, be it the Peruvian education, be it the Colombian education, all these were fundamentally value-based. Values and ethics formed the bedrock of this entire educational process, right? And secondly, we found that many of these knowledge systems focused on nature. So whether it is the location of the school or what was the content taught to them, what was the curriculum, what was the practical hands-on, exercises that they were doing. Many of these things were nature-based, whether it's a Gurukula or whether it's a Maori school or whatever it is, right? The third thing that we found was that there are multiple custodians of knowledge. Right now, in the mainstream school, what happens is that the teacher stands on the stage and delivers a monologue to the students, right? Or writes, we call it chalk and talk method. They write on the board, or worse still, they just show a PPT or a presentation. And the student is passively consuming the whole thing without active engagement. And the teacher is the only custodian of knowledge there. The knowledge flows only one ways from the teacher to the student. But when we look at the many indigenous education processes, there are multiple custodians of knowledge, including nature, right? So students can learn from their own grandparents also. The seniors in the education system are also, or their own peers also, they can learn from them. So grandparents are very much part of the educational process because they transmit knowledge in the form of stories. But unfortunately, in today's nuclear family or even atomic family for that matter, we don't have the presence of elders in the family, or the elders are not part of the educational process. It is cut off there. The home is separate. The education's ecosystem is separate. So from morning 9 to 5, the child sits in the classroom, and evening 5 to 9, they actually go to the tuition classes. So there is very, very minimal interaction between the family and the student, family and the teacher. There is a lot of interaction between the teacher and the student. So what happens in this is that the many stakeholders don't come together as custodians of knowledge. Many things seem to be separate. It's not flowing cyclically. And the teacher is not aware of the practices that are happening in the family, right? What is the family custom? What is the family tradition? All this is not. And there is no way for the school also to factor in all the cultural diversities and offer education which caters to these diversities, right? So it is quite challenging. I do agree. And the other aspect that we observed is that there are variety of pedagogical approaches, right? It is not just a one-way monologue between where it is flowing, information is flowing from the teacher to the student. For example, storytelling is a very, very effective pedagogy in the indigenous knowledge systems, right? For example, we have a huge body of knowledge in terms of Ramayana, Mahabharata, Panchatantra for that matter. If you look at Panchatantra, there are so many animal stories that convey important messages. And this is the best way to impact the young learners. So if you talk to young children and say, be honest, don't steal, don't take others' things, share it with others. This all is a very, abstract philosophical concept to them. But the moment, or you pay attention in class, all these are abstract concepts. But if you tell them a story, then that main character, if the character is honest, the character pays attention in class. If the character does not steal, or even if steals and faces a consequence, then what happens? This becomes a very, very vicarious process of learning for the students. Vicarious learning means you learn from, by knowing the story of others, right? So this pedagogical approaches, there are a variety of pedagogical approaches in the indigenous context. We will be seeing some of them in the future sessions. So this variety contributes to a lot of learning. Very, very rapid learning happens. So how this pedagogy, what are the other pedagogical approaches? One is storytelling. The other one is being in nature and then learning. There is also peer learning that happens. The other approach is used in terms of the sources of learning. So it is not just by reading the book, but also through hands-on experience that the child develops this process. For example, here, at the Gurukulam that we have a Goshala. Goshala has about 40 cows, right? So what happens when children are, they're located in the vicinity of a Goshala, on a daily basis, 4 to 5 times, they get to observe the cows. So we often say that the life science laboratory of the children is in the Goshala, because they are able to see the various, the growth stages of the cow. And they're able to understand when the cow is hungry, when the cow is not well, how do we treat the cow? All this becomes visible to the children. So this becomes a life science laboratory for the children. But unlike in a typical classroom, what happens? We take the science book, we cover unit by unit, they write an examination without what we call as pratyaksha jnana. Pratyaksha means the first-hand experience or direct perception or cognition of the various concepts. So at the end of, say, 12 years, at the end of the 12th standard, even though a child might have studied biology, they find it difficult to identify the various species of plants other than a few things that they have studied in the textbook, right? They find it difficult to categorize and classify the various animals because practical knowledge hasn't gone in to them, right? So the beauty of indigenous education is that there are multiple custodians and there are a variety of pedagogical approaches which help the child to get a hands-on experience, first-hand experience, apart from textual knowledge. So they have textual knowledge, they have conceptual knowledge, also they have a contextual knowledge in this. Okay. What are some of the noteworthy aspects of IKS? Okay. So each region, Pradesham or region, had a distinct knowledge system, but fundamentally everything was connected to one another. If you go to Assam, there is a very specific way by which farming is done, very specific way by which weaving is done, very specific way by which water is conserved. If you come to South India, if you come to Karnataka, say for example, again, the weaving is different, the agriculture is different, the food practices are different. And each one has a logic based on weather, based on the food that is you can grow in that particular region. So the knowledge system, it's very unique in many states, but there is also a fundamental knowledge system, which is a compilation of many of these knowledge systems. Say, for example, Ayurveda, Yoga, Bharatiya Ganita, or whatever it is. Even though there is diversity, there is also a fundamental unification of these knowledge systems. And there has always been a healthy coexistence of knowledge systems, and there was an interdependence of knowledge systems. For example, if you look at Ayurveda, it draws its insights from Vaisheshika, Nyaya, and many such philosophical systems. Most of the knowledge systems have drawn their insights from the Vedas. One system may agree with another or may not agree with another. For example, one philosophical system may or may not agree with another philosophical system. But in the same time, we have had so many philosophical systems coexist. At the same time, they will all exist together. There has never been a problem, right? And most of these knowledge systems were written in the form of metrical verses or poetry. So it was very easy to memorize and by heart the verses. Even now, in some places, if you go to, say, a Jyotisha, a person who looks at, say, astrology, right? They might look at some parameters and then they might chant a verse from their text and then analyze the horoscope. Okay. Okay, leave astrology. Now take Ayurveda, for example, right? An Ayurvedic student or a Vaidya typically has access to the text like Charaka Samhita, or they would have by-hearted Ashtanga Hridayam. So when they actually notice a particular manifestation of a disease, they will go to the source of the disease. They will memorize, invoke the verses from memory and then accordingly treat the patient, right? So it means that a vast body of knowledge, 1,000 verses through 3,000 verses, 4,000 verses will actually be embedded in the mind of the learner. So it builds, there are a lot of cognitive benefits of memorizing these verses. There was a study, you can you can Google it up. It's called the Sanskrit effect. It's called the Sanskrit effect. And this was studied by Professor James Hartzell. He did a study of various Vedic students and he found that remarkable, what you can say, transformation of the brain or remarkable features of the brain in terms of enhanced gray matter, white matter, hippocampal region, better memory, decision-making skills, and all of that. So he understood that the chanting process and the memorization process really helped the students to have better cognitive capabilities. But of course, there is a need to differentiate this from rote learning. Rote learning means taking a paragraph in physics and by hearting it and directly writing it in the exam. As students say, by hearting and vomiting it in the exam. That is rote learning. Rote also means memorization, but what I'm talking about is memorizing the Sanskrit verses. For example, you have or Sanskrit or even Telugu for that matter, or Tamil. In Telugu, you have a lot of padyams and gadyams, right? You have padyalu. So children basically memorize it. There is a beautiful Telugu thing called the Vedabala Shiksha, right? So it is a manual full of content. So much memorization content is there, such that whatever you learn, even when you are 6 years of age, even now you can remember. Even if you are 40 years of age, 50 years of age, you can still remember that particular content. That's because there was a huge emphasis which was given on memory, not just the understanding, but also on the memorization of the concepts. Okay. So the noteworthy aspect, another thing is that it was not just philosophical in nature, but a lot of rigorous and scientific contributions were there. There was math, there was astronomy, there was shipbuilding, town planning and architecture, health sciences, Ayurveda, Siddha, yoga, spirituality, music, and various arts were given. And the content was suitable for oral and written form of knowledge. And there were a lot of lived traditions also. Okay. So when we talk about Indian knowledge systems, it is not just about something that is there in the books in Sanskritam or in Telugu or Tamil, whatever language. It is also that vast body of knowledge which is available in the rural areas, in the tribal areas, in the hilly regions, right? So in the ancient times, you would see that there will be nagaras.
Screenshot is option.
Balakrishna garu, kindly mute. Yeah, please continue, madam.
Nagaras which were centers of consumption. Even today, cities are the centers of consumption, right? Gramas were the centers of production, where a lot of production used to happen. So it could, because a lot of vocational skills were imparted in gramas or villages, it used to be the production hub. Each village used to produce a lot of material, could be textiles, could be metal components, could be vessels, whatever it is, right? And the vanas, there were different kinds of vanas that were there. Some of the vanas were used to produce, right? Wherever you can harvest something and sell that particular product, there used to be vanas like that. There were also aranyas or vanas again, which were deep forests where a lot of research used to happen in terms of gurukulas, the rishis having their own ashramas over there, which is undisturbed from the hustle bustle of the nagaras, right? So they, apart from that, there were also a lot of vanas where there were a lot of Vanavasis used to live, and they had their own system of health and well-being and cooking and cuisine and dressing and everything, right? So, if, we had this Padma Shri awardee, Lakshmi Kutti ji, who was known for her tribal medicine, right? So tribal medicine, even today, it is very, very powerful, and it is known, very well known throughout the country, right? So there you would see that there are so many lived knowledge traditions, which are not just textbook based, but people just live that knowledge. Every village has an enlightened person. Every village has a person who knows the history of that particular village, story of that particular village. Every village has people who can sing and dance and perform various arts. Every village has people who can, who have a lot of vocational skills, right? So like that, they live that particular tradition. If you go and ask them, like, what is IKS? Do you know about IKS? They'll say, I don't know this IKS and all that, but they will be living that IKS, right? So that is the beauty of India, where people just live the tradition. But when we take it out, create a framework out of it, codify the knowledge, present it in the form of verses, poetry, text and all that, then it becomes a knowledge system. So this is what NEP has to talk about. A little bit is cut here, but it's okay. This is what NEP has to talk about the Indian knowledge systems. So NEP section 4.27 takes knowledge of India will include knowledge from ancient India and its contributions to modern India and its success and challenges, and a clear sense of India's future aspirations with regard to education, health, environment. These elements will be incorporated in an accurate and scientific manner throughout the curriculum in various forms, right? Mathematics, astronomy, philosophy, yoga, in form of videos, lectures, and this thing, right? Many such things. And also an engaging course on Indian knowledge systems will also be available to students at the secondary elective level. Competitions can be held, video documentaries can be prepared. And even at the higher education level, the UGC has set some guidelines saying that at least 5% of the curriculum can be Indian knowledge systems. Of the 5%, 50% of that can be stream specific. Whatever you are studying, accordingly, the Indian knowledge systems can be offered. So all this now is part of the policy itself. It is not just in theory, it is not just sitting somewhere in the archives. Now it's actively being pursued. Lot of people, all the IITs, or at least most of the IITs have Indian knowledge system centers. People can do research there. Many private universities and public universities have Indian knowledge system centers. Many people have started their own IKS departments and started offering courses. Throughout the country, there are so many researchers who are now publishing on IKS. Now there is a journal that is available exclusively for publishing Indian knowledge system works, right? And education or the B.Ed, M.Ed was something that was still, there is a gap with respect to IKS. And we are very, very happy that the university, Osmania University, has taken this initiative, included it in the curriculum so that so many more young learners of the future can actually benefit through this, right? So when we talk about IKS here, I'll talk about this in another, say 4 to 5 minutes, and then we can take up some questions before we close. So when we talk about Indian knowledge systems, there are two views about this, okay? Two ways to understand this. One is two ways in the sense, people will look at it through the lens of the philosophical systems or Darshana Shastras. The other way to look at it is in terms of the Ashtadasha Vidyasthana or 18 knowledge systems. So you have the Vedas, 4 Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama and Atharva Veda. You have the 6 Vedangas, Shiksha, Chandas, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Kalpa and Jyotisha. Okay. Shiksha, Chandas, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Kalpa and Jyotisha. Okay. Upavedas, Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, Arthashastra and Gandharva Veda. Some say it is also Sthapatya Veda. Purana, Nyaya, Mimamsa and Dharma Shastra. We leave out the others as of now. There will be a separate session on these 14 knowledge systems. The others 4 we will just leave out for now. So here is a Sanskrit verse that talks about this. So if you were to remember the names of the 18 knowledge systems, you just have to by heart this verse. You chant it 10-15 times, you'll automatically be able to memorize this verse. So it says, Purana Nyaya Mimamsa Dharma Shastranga Mishritaha Vedaha Sthanani Vidyaya Dharmasya Cha Chaturdasha Ayurvedo Dhanurvedo Gandhavashcheva Tetrayaha Arthashastram Chaturtam tu Vidya Hyashtadashavai Dashaiva Taha. So here the 18 Ashtadasha Vidyasthanas are mentioned, which include Purana, Nyaya, Mimamsa and Dharma Shastra. Apart from that, there are 4 Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama and Atharva Veda. So the Vedas were initially a huge body of single knowledge, revelatory knowledge. Okay, when we say Vedas, they are not just some printed book, they are revelatory knowledge systems or knowledge for that matter. And then Maharishi Vedavyasa, okay, Vyasa Maharishi, who wrote the Mahabharata, the 18 Puranas, he undertook this task of compiling the Vedas into 4 divisions, Rig, Yajur, Sama and Atharva Veda, so that people can be dedicated to learning this. Instead of the whole body of knowledge, at least one part you learn well. He classified this. So you have lot of Veda Pathashalas which offer training to know, remember or by heart the Vedas. For the first, say, 7 to 8 years, it is dedicated to just learning the Vedas or by hearting the or memorizing the Vedas. Okay. The Vedanga are actually support systems or the whatever knowledge system is required in order to read the Vedas and make sense of the Vedas and understand and decode them. That is called Vedanga. Okay. So you have Shiksha, which is the science of phonetics, how to pronounce. Chandas, in terms of the meter, in what tone or tune you need to chant the Vedas. Vyakarana is the grammar. Only with grammar you can understand a particular sentence. Nirukta is the etymology. We look at it later, don't worry about it now. Nirukta means etymology, where this particular word is derived from. That is given in the Vedanga. Okay. For example, if you take the word, say, Surya, which is to do with the sun, right? Aditya, Bhaskara, right? There are so many names for Surya or the sun, right? So each one has a different source from where it is derived. So the Nirukta basically also talks about the root words and how other words are constructed from this root word. Kalpa is in terms of the various rituals to be performed by the Vedic student, and Jyotisha is astronomy in order to calculate the sunrise and sunset and which direction to set the Yajna Kunda, all that is done. Ayurveda is the science of life, which is a full system of health and well-being, not just treatment, but also in terms of preventive health. Dhanurveda is the science of bow and archery, but also larger combat and warfare. Arthashastra is the science of politics and wealth and prosperity, economics for that matter. And Gandharva Veda is to do with music and dance and overall entertainment, how to keep your life, if it's all work and no entertainment, it can be a very stressful life, right? So how do you do that? But that also with a lot of mathematical precision, it is given. Sthapatya Veda is the science of construction in terms of urban planning, temple construction, home construction, and ponds, and how do you conserve the rivers. All this is present in Sthapatya Veda. And Puranas are the various ancient narratives. Nyaya Mimamsa are philosophical systems. Dharma Shastra help you to understand about life and lead a life which is productive and aligned with whatever values are there in the family, in the society, and the larger ecosystem, right? So before we go into the next topic the next day, let us just quickly revise whatever we have looked at today. And then I will take some questions. So in today's session, we had looked at what is Indian knowledge systems. We had looked at a broad definition. There is no one particular definition of IKS. I encourage you to go through the IKS division's website to know about more about the various governmental initiatives. We saw it is not just philosophy or yoga, but it is to do with so many more scientific disciplines. We looked at this Angus Madison report and understood that the position of India at some point in time used to be very, very high in terms of its economic development and contribution, but there was a decline during the Britishers' phase. And we also talked about the beautiful tree, which is the work of Professor Dharampal, which he had written by accessing the various British records. And, then that also talks about how the beautiful tree perished because of various policy interventions. And, community-led schools were there, Patashalas were there, Gurukulams were there, Thinnai Pallikudams were there. Not just, confined to big infrastructural schools, but also to homes and beneath the trees and community halls, supported by even simple people, right? And there were more than 1 lakh schools in the Bengal and Bihar province alone. Lot of enrollment was there, robust pedagogy was there, excellent knowledge systems, more than 1,000 higher education institutions were there. At a time when the British education system was not so very inclusive right? But we had a very robust education system. And the content was, in terms of Indian knowledge systems, Itihasa, Purana, the various sciences, the various linguistic works, grammar, logic, lexicology, medicine, mythology, literature, many such things were offered. Of course, colonization has had its impact. But why do we need to study IKS? Because, first of all, to develop a holistic understanding of knowledge, build a deeper cultural identity and heritage, become more rooted, and develop innovative and sustainable solutions to solve problems of the future. And it's relevant in the context of B.Ed, M.Ed, because we need to transform the lives of the next generation learners. For that, we need to have solutions from our own culture and heritage. And also, IKS-based education is value-based, it is nature-based, it's multiple custodians, multiple sources of knowledge, a wide variety of pedagogical tools like storytelling, chanting, hands-on experiences. All this is built as part of the pedagogical process. Some noteworthy aspect is that many things is written in the form of poetry, lot of lived tradition in the forest and tribal knowledge, and grammars and nagaras. And then all knowledge systems were interconnected. So you start with Ayurveda, you learn astronomy, you learn mathematics. So everything was interconnected that way, right? So we had a very robust shipbuilding knowledge, town planning and architecture, health sciences, spirituality, music and arts. At a time when many parts of the country, many parts of the world were believing that the earth is flat and we would fall off if we took a ship and then we sail the ship very far away, we'll fall off the earth. That is what many parts of the world used to believe. But then we had a very robust shipping system in place, and the knowledge was suitable for oral and written form, and a lot of lived traditions were there. And NEP also talks about IKS. And when we look at IKS, the broad structure, one way to look at IKS is that we had the Veda, Vedanga, Upaveda, Rig, Yajur, Sama, Atharva, Shiksha, Chandas, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Kalpa, and Jyotisha, Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, Arthashastra, and Gandharva Veda. These are the 18 knowledge systems. So with this, we come to the conclusion of day one's proceedings. I would like to have any insights or questions or anything that you would like to share.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes, ma'am.
Which way of teaching is better? Is it teacher-centered or student-centered? Because there are no values nowadays in teaching field. So students also will not give the value for teachers. Previously, it is not like this. So which way of teaching is good now? Is it teacher-centered or student-centered way of education?
As I
Sorry,
told,
this is Kalyani from M.Ed College, first year, ma'am, first year student.
yes, ma'am. So this, when we talk about eroding values, of course, we cannot, generically say that, all values have eroded and this thing. Values still exist in the society. But then what has happened is that it is not presented as forefront of the educational process, right? So that value centricism is not brought into the educational process. You might have one moral education period, one, value education period, but the entire content is not, sort of resting on this value-based thing. So there is a need to transform there. There is no one way. It is not just teacher-centric or it's not just being student-centric. As I told you, a wide variety of pedagogical approaches are available. Even hands-on learning, you can even learn from nature. Without a teacher, hindering in the middle, you can just learn from nature and still grow up to be a person who knows about the world. So there are there are a wide variety of processes available.
Thank you, ma'am. One more question. Do we have any school in India which teaches this Vedas and all?
There are thousands of Veda Patashalas available throughout the country and hundreds of Gurukulams that are there throughout the country. I would strongly recommend the various colleges associated with the university to organize tours for their own faculty and students to visit the Gurukulas to understand how education is offered, or alternate schools to see how education is offered. I open this invitation to all of you to visit our own Gurukula at any point in time. you can organize and visit and understand the various pedagogical processes that we offer here.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks for your answer.
Dear participants
Here
and
I'd
faculty
like to
members, any questions?
add one.
It's open for
I'd
discussion.
I'd like to add one point. Someone was mentioning about the Veda Pathshalas and stuff like that. We have something called the field engagement, both in philosophy and in IKS, wherein we are advised or encouraged to take the students to the Veda Pathshalas to see how the education happens there, how the traditional and the contemporary education is blended together to, help the children learn the best of both. So that is already existing. That is already there as a part of the curriculum. I've just checked that. So we have that in the curriculum, yes.
Excellent, ma'am. Excellent. We also have a Gurukulam in Hyderabad, which is a day school. So, we can also organize something towards that.
Sure, ma'am. Yes.
Madam, I want to add 2-3 points. One thing is in Hyderabad, there are a number of Gurukulas are there. We can send our students to visit such Gurukulams like Arya Samaj Gurukulams at Hyderabad. Specifically, if you go and see near the Shamirpet, named as Aliabad, Arya Shodhana Samsthan, running by Acharya Neeraja Garu. It's a wonderful place. You can see that it's a Kanya Gurukulam, and also she is running for boys also at Ramayanpet, near the what is his outskirts of the 100 kilometers, maybe 100 kilometers of the Hyderabad. In the Hyderabad also, one is at Dammai Guda, running by Acharya Savita Garu, Panineya Kanya Gurukulam. And also you can see that at what is this Malakpet, there also for boys' sake, Arya Samaj running a Gurukulam. And you can see that at Samata Murti, that statue of equality at near the Shamshabad, where Puja Swami Chinajir Swamiji also running a traditional Gurukula school, Vedic Gurukula school. And also at Gajwel, you can see that there are a Vedic Gurukula school running by the traditional Acharyas. So like that, there are a number of Gurukulas are available. Specifically, our Anaadi Foundation also here in the Hyderabad at Padmarao Nagar, they are running a Bala Gurukulam. And also at the Jubilee Hills, there are 2 places in Hyderabad. We need to express thanks to Anaadi Gurukulam, because in the Hyderabad they are running 2 Bala Gurukulams, that. So we the students or anyone can visit, and you can see that how the Vedic pattern of education system is going in these schools. There is a very much intimacy between teachers and students, and lot of pedagogic practices you can see. Thank you, madam.
Ma'am, in the chat
Thank you,
box,
sir.
we have one question.
Yeah,
from
there's one question. How to impart IKS into the present education curriculum at the higher education stage? There are a lot of courses that are offered on Swayam and Swayam Plus, for the higher education institutions. And a lot of organizations also sign MOUs with higher education institutions to offer courses. Universities themselves have developed IKS curriculum and are offering it as part of their curriculum. So already a lot of work is going on in that. You can check also some of these on the IKS division website. How Ayurveda can be revived in education institutions. Simple principles of Ayurveda can be introduced. At Anaadi Foundation, we have published a lot of books. There is one on Ayurveda, which is called a primer on Ayurveda. I'm putting the link in the chat box. Anaadi.org/IKS books. There is a book on Ayurveda. There are also 3-level books, which are very suitable for children as well. This is for adults as well. So you can take a look at them. Simple principles of Ayurveda through various illustrations and games and all that can be taught the children.
400 million అంటే
నన్ను అడిగానా
40 కోట్లు ఆల్మోస్ట్ అంతే కదా
అంతేగా
దేనికి 10 లక్షలు
Participant, please mute your audio.
Those who want to interact, you only please unmute. Yeah.
Any more questions, please? Any more questions?
It's a content related to IKS. There is one book on Indian knowledge systems by Professor Mahadevan. You can take a look at that book. It gives a very good overview of IKS.
Madam, could you send that in the chat
Yeah.
box?
Professor.
And even we want this Dharampal thing also. Beautiful tree.
To add to what you have said, madam, in the Swayam portal, if you can register for the Indian knowledge system, the entire textbook, entire book of Sri Mahadevan Garu is given as a course. It is given as a
Correct.
module. That is really very wonderful. I've been using that. I can endorse. Yeah, this is very well put.
Yes, very true. You can also buy the book for the library in your respective institution library. You could buy that.
Yes, ma'am, we already did. We have 4 copies of that.
Excellent. Is IKS education equal opportunity for all? Definitely, it's an equal opportunity because now, as I told you, all education institutions, higher education have IKS. And as I presented in the presentation, when we talk about IKS education, it was very inclusive. People across communities and classes and genders were part of the education process. So that way, and numerous schools were there in all regions. So that way, very few people were left out of the education process. Most of the people were part of the educational process in some way or the other.
To ensure holistic development in the child, need to involve active involvement of parents and society is the main important role, I think.
Yes. Very true. That's why a lot of adults, who are parents, not just parents of, of a particular school or whatever it is, in general, if you're a parent, just onboarding yourself onto IKS can really transform the life of your child.
Hello.
Yes,
Where
sir.
teachers teach their subjects, okay, where Western knowledge comes, there parallelly our Indian knowledge also, if teacher teaches, children will understand and they develop our self-respect.
Very true, sir. That NCERT is coming out with books where there is parallel content. So wherever there is relevant there is parallelly, they're giving the IKS content also. So very soon, once they come, I think all the learners will benefit from the right approach, as you said. So if there are no further questions, we can close with an invocation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Om Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. So whatever benefit we receive, let us share the benefit with everybody around us for the benefit of the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah, participant, one second, please. Yeah.
Yeah, it gives me an immense pleasure to propose that formal vote of thanks to our respected the Guru Mata Srimati Anantalakshmi. Namaste, madam. And also, yeah, I am Dr. Durgesham from the Department of Education. Today, madam has enlightened on that basic information regarding Indian knowledge system and its significance in the nowadays. And also, madam has enlightened through the different that approaches and also that your methods, and madam has interacted with all the participants. So today it's very wonderful to know that here through this Zoom so far now that 80 plus participants has joined, and also YouTube, the 270 student that participants has joined, and also that shows that here how the people are eagerly to know that here in the Indian knowledge system, and how we will inculcate in that part and parcel of this teaching through this year education system like B.Ed and M.Ed course in. So that is why beyond this workshop here, Osmania University has rightly understand the significance of this Indian knowledge system. So that is why this workshop is being organizing, madam. And thank you so much. And I express my sincere thanks to all the participants across that university jurisdiction colleges and their principals, managements, and students, and all the faculty members. And thank you very much, one and all.
Tomorrow we'll meet at
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And tomorrow we'll meet at sharp 2 o'clock, and the same Google link will be shared in our group. Yeah, please encourage all the students of your respective colleges to look into and join in that YouTube channel, and also understand that the significance of this Indian knowledge system and in this education system. With this, I am express my profuse thanks to all the participants, as well as that here the Mataji Srimati Anantalakshmi, and founder of this Anaadi Foundation. And I express my sincere thanks to one and all. Thank you. Om.
Thank you, Anaadi. Ananta Lakshmi madam.
Thank you.
I think tomorrow madam, it's echoing. I'll join with other. Yeah, thank you one and all for participating in this session. And I hope tomorrow we will get more number of participants joining the thing. I think many of the students have joined through YouTube. And one more thing is, madam, the respective colleges, they have put up the screen in their respective colleges so that the students will join with single Zoom link. So those photos also have been shared with me in the WhatsApp group. So I think it has benefited by more than 500 students to 1,000 students, and which includes both teaching faculty as well as the students. So it was a wonderful session, madam, where we got good knowledge about the introduction. And then I think tomorrow at the same time, we will be joining the session at 2 o'clock. And we will share the link, and we'll share the link just 15 minutes or 10 minutes before the session. And I thank my colleague Durgesham for giving vote of thanks. At the same time, I thank our principal and head of the department, Professor Ravindran Murthy Garu, for giving this permission to conduct a workshop on IKS, along with my faculty members, Dr. J. Lalita, Assistant Professor, Department of Education, Sujata Madam, Dr. Sujata, Assistant Professor, Dharmateja, and Krishnaya, who are also working with me in the department. And I thank Kishore, who is supporting me right from the planning of this thing, along with my department people. I thank you, Kishore, and all the technical support from Madam side who are supporting Zoom link to all the people from Anaadi Foundation. I thank one and all. Thank you very much. And I request all the participants to join tomorrow at 2 p.m. sharp, and we will share the link 10 minutes before, as I told. Thank you, madam. Thank you, one and all. Namaste to all.